Hey Jackie, it's Labora. So I have these glasses on because at nighttime the light makes it hard. Light gets into my eyes, and it makes it difficult to go to sleep because it's time to be asleep, and I'm having bright light in my eyes, and that keeps me awake. I'm not the only one. That's like something that happens to people. But I wanted to say something to you, and rather than just write it all in the email, which was getting long, I just wanted to talk to you. So I sent part of the email, and then the other part I wanted to say is, like, for 4 years I stopped chanting every day. I didn't do Ganyo, and I chanted when I felt like it. It was like right after I left the SGI, and the reason, in addition to me not liking the fact that the SGI worshipped President Ikeda, my other issue was that this idea that you had to chant, which I put in my other video that I made, in the other post I made, or the video and the text, the transfer. Bottom line, I did that a couple of days ago. And what it was is like, it's what I said in that video, which is that the idea that you had to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo seemed very limiting to me. And so I stopped chanting every day. And I felt like, because I had read the Lotus Sutra, and because I just believed in my heart that we have this power that we're born with inside of us. Before I started practicing Buddhism, I didn't know that that would be called the Buddha nature or enlightenment. But I remember very clearly thinking when I was 13 years old that because I was depressed a lot, and that I didn't believe, I stopped believing that hell and heaven were places. My father was a minister, a preacher, Baptist preacher. So I read the Bible, and then I didn't believe hell and heaven were places, because I was experiencing hell with my depression, and then things that were happening in my life. I was bullied a lot at school. So I came to the conclusion when I was like 13 that I was living hell. Hell was inside of me. And so then, therefore, heaven must also be inside of me. But I don't know how to get it out. I remember thinking that. I know I'm good at experiencing hell. I don't know how to get the heaven out. And that led me on my journey of really seeking how to do that. And I believe that when I found Buddhism, approximately 14 years later, 15 years later, whatever, it was 26 when I started practicing, that I found the answer. That yes, this Buddhahood was always inside of me, just like I thought. So when I stopped practicing Buddhism, well, I consider myself a Buddhist. When I left the SGI, I did not believe I was no longer Buddhist. I believed in what the Lotus Sutra taught. I believed what Nichiren taught, except I did not agree with him that you have to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And I've talked about that in my other video. So I just really believed that I could bring forth out of my life this enlightenment. I've talked before about how I dreamt about the Lotus Sutra, my own self, before I knew about Buddhism. I was 14, and I dreamed, very clearly about the Lotus Sutra. There's parts of my dream that are just like picked up right out of the Lotus Sutra. And so I had that experience that my life is eternal. And so what happened during that 4-year period is that, I just determined I can change things just based on determining that I am going to bring out my Buddha nature, that I'm going to change this in this moment. And I did. And I continued to experience benefit during that 4-year period. I mean, life is, there's obstacles. So, but I never felt like, because I'm not chanting, that's why this is happening. I let go of all of the superstition that had been ingrained in me through the SGI, that if you don't do Ganyo, you're going to suffer. If you don't chant, you're going to suffer, etc. And I just determined I am a Buddha. I can change this right now. And I did that in that 4-year period. There were, there were times that were difficult and all that, but I won many times. And so when I decided to start doing Ganyo again every day, because I chanted when I wanted to, it wasn't like I wasn't chanting. I just chanted when I felt like it. And I wasn't doing Ganyo every day at all. I don't think I did Ganyo at all during that 4-year period. Except maybe if somebody came to visit me, I did. But I was chanting when I felt like it. So it wasn't even something I was doing every day. But I was winning. because I believed that I had a Buddha nature, that I am a Buddha, and that I could change things, and I was doing it. So then when I decided I wanted to get Michael Hudson enshrined again and set my altar back up, it wasn't because I was afraid that if I didn't do that, I was going to suffer. I wasn't suffering because of not practicing the normal way anymore. I just absolutely wasn't doing that. I still suffer even now when I'm chatting all the time. I deal with depression. I have problems. I have obstacles, but I win. And during that 4-year period, I was winning. So when I started doing Ganyo every day again, it wasn't because I was afraid of what would happen if I stopped. It was because I wanted to. Because chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo enables me to bring out my Buddha nature faster than not doing that. Not because it's the only way, but because it's the most effective way. It's quick compared to me pulling it out of myself. And even sometimes I've had to pull it out of myself. I've been someplace where I couldn't get to my altar. Sometimes not even that long ago, I was like, oh, I need to go home and chant. And I was like, girl, you don't have time to go home and chant. You better change this right now. And I did. I chanted, but it was not, I didn't get to go home and do a whole tozo or anything like that. I just had to change it in that moment. And that's what I did in that 4-year period. There were multiple times that I just said, oh, you need to change this right now in this moment, which is really a matter of changing how I'm thinking, determining I have the power to change this and then doing it. So I'm not saying, because you mentioned that you had to chant and that things had gone south when you didn't. I'm not saying that you shouldn't chant. I would never tell anybody that, because I think chanting works. It's very effective. I don't think you have to bring out your Buddha nature. Your Buddha nature is already there. Chanting makes it easier to see that. And I fully believe that. And it just makes sense because people were attained enlightenment, and there are enlightened people walking around right now who don't know anything about Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And again, this goes back to how we're all one with everything. And when you live that way, recognizing that you are one with every person and respecting yourself like you're a Buddha, respecting other people like you're a Buddha, respecting your environment like it's the Buddha land, things change. It starts in our minds. So that's all I want to say. I'm not saying you don't need to chant. I'm saying that because you can be chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and if you're just doing it like you're praying to God, that's not really Buddhism. Buddhism is recognizing that you are Buddha, that you have all of the unlimited power of the universe, that is you all the time, 100% of the time. You are the unlimited universe. Therefore, there's no obstacle that you can't overcome. So, I hope you watched my video about the SGI, because the SGI is praising Daisaku Ikeda like he is a god. And doing it in the name of the Lotus Sutra. It's bad enough to do that anyway, but to say that you're actually an organization of the Lotus Sutra, well, now you're leading people away from the teaching that teaches them that they are a Buddha, so they can bring out their own power. And you're like giving them this drug where they think they have to get it from someone else, from Daisaku Ikeda. And that's why the SGI is so dangerous, because they pretend to be representing the Lotus Sutra, and actually they're doing just the opposite. All right, I hope you watched the video. I hope you keep up with me on the posts